All right, here we go. It is the last Monday of August. I tell you, this year has gone by so quickly, and at times it feels like it's dragging. So, I guess it depends on how much sleep I've had. But I have had my Cocoa Puffs today. I'm ready to go. Greetings, everyone. We are live from the bunker. My name is Jason Hunt. I am the editor here at Sci-Fi For Me, and we are live at Facebook, Odyssey, and YouTube. Hopefully Odyssey is cooperating. We'll see. So yeah. We are back again. This show is also available as a podcast on various different platforms. We've also got the comments, the live chat. Everything's open. Email address, livefromthebunker at sci-fi4me.com. If you want to suggest topics or guests, and we will get those in the lineup. Good to have everybody here. Hope you had a good weekend. I kind of did. We did our Star Trek news program Triple Bites live last night, and it got better numbers than the replay did. So I don't know. We're having to rethink a few things here. It's a constant process of abort or pivot, reevaluate, try to figure things out, and see what happens next. So I don't know. We'll go through there and see what happens. All right. So today we are talking about a new book that's coming out tomorrow. It is the latest in the St. Tommy NYPD book, number 11. It's Dark Web, and the author of this book, Mr. Declan Finn, joins us today. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
So this one here is internet shenanigans. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind when I see Dark Web, because this always this whole underbelly of society thing, and it's kind of translated into what we get on the internet. So am I reading that right, or is this kind of partially?
Yeah, that's a large part of it. And one of the problems with tracking down anything on the internet is, yes, the servers might be in one country and the person you're trying to go after is in a completely different one. The setup for this particular novel is, you can place an order for anything on the internet and on the dark web, including people. And the setup of this particular novel is somebody has been disappeared, and it looks like, a foreign government wanted to have him disappeared. They would like him delivered, wrapped up, and the presumption is he will be disposed of in a colorful manner. And it's, we've got a clock on how long it takes to rescue him. And along the way, because this is St. Tommy and this is urban fantasy / horror, he winds up coming up against a private military contractor filled with witches, a drug dealer who gets his supplies from the dark web, and his white powder turns people into zombies, things like that, and all the fun stuff. And this one goes dark, even for my stuff. And book one started with a possessed serial killer. So it's one of the few reviews. I've actually gotten reviews already from people who have gotten advanced copies. And they said, wow, this might be the darkest thing he's written.
Now, the last time you were on, we had talked about some of this, the fact that you had looked at all of the different things that you'd written so far and how predictive they have become, as opposed to just, feeling like fiction and let's just write some stories. And I suggested to you at the time that you should do some kind of a romantic comedy or something just to break the cycle. And here you are coming out with something that you're saying is even darker than anything else that you've done. What are you doing to us, Declan? What's coming next?
Well, thankfully, this one was written 2 years ago, so nothing's come true yet that I know of. And most of this has been, with book 10, Lightbringer, I started just deciding, okay, fine. If I'm writing stuff and it comes true, let's just work backwards. We're going to start with rip from the headlines. We're going to add gunfire and Lovecraft. And maybe that means we won't see anything more in the headlines because it only gets weirder. You know, if Tiamat comes out of the ocean, we're screwed anyway, but that's a different conversation.
Right. Well, I mean
Uh,
that's a story you can add at some point, I guess maybe.
different book,
Different book.
earlier novel.
Well, and at the
but
same time, you're part of the superversive movement. The heroes and there are good guys, there are bad guys, and stuff. So have you had conversations with other authors like Richard Palinelli, for example, about how superversive works with the dark stuff that you're writing?
Superversive works with the dark stuff I'm writing mostly because it superversive, to inspire from above, to build up. Sorry, my thought has always been a matter of superversive is just what we used to call plain storytelling. Um, as far as I'm concerned, Die Hard is superversive
Right.
because yes, good will overcome, and what I'm doing is basically yes, no matter how dark this gets, the darkness will be beaten back. How many people survive along the way is a different conversation entirely. So,
Now,
but yeah, superversive and horror works fine as long as it's not nihilistic nonsense like certain horror people I can talk about.
yeah.
But that's one of the reasons why I generally avoid horror in general. Um, it's so much nihilistic nonsense. After a while, it's like, buddy, if everything is absurd and nihilistic and nothing is worth it, then why are you bothering? It's like, hell, reading it. I haven't read a Stephen King novel in a decade or two, but it's like, dude, you're still writing just because you have contractual obligations and a nasty cocaine habit, right? Because I don't see any other reason why he's even bothering,
Yeah.
or why anyone bothers to publish him. I mean, good God, some of his stuff is just shoot me now. And the immortal words of Donald Duck: "Shoot me now."
So when I'm reading this this description of the book, you start off with a Christian internet celebrity getting kidnapped. Was there a specific thought process, a decision as far as what kind of internet celebrity you wanted to have as the target of this? Because in this day and age especially, but I guess 2 years ago it would have been right towards the beginning, we had all of this, the influencers, right, and the TikTok crowd, and that becoming a thing. And of course, you've got all these people, gaining followers and influences over on Instagram. Was that just a product of the time when you started writing this, or was there a specific reason why you decided on an internet celebrity as opposed to just a regular run of the mill celebrity, as if there is one?
Well, one of the bad guys in this book is going to be centered around the People's Republic of China. And I wanted somebody who will piss them off. Now, granted, that's a long list of people. um, but as far as influencers and celebrities go, I follow some YouTube reviewers, but nobody's going to kidnap one of them.
Right.
Like, yes, somebody's going to kidnap Critical Drinker. No, no. Nobody's going. Somebody's going to go near the Nostalgia Critic. It's like they'd have to go through Chicago. It's like might as well go through bad parts of Uganda. Yes, even the demons don't want to go to Chicago. So I wanted somebody who would piss off the Chinese. Christians do that easy.
Yeah.
People from Hong Kong do that easy. I kind of mashed them up together. And my wife was catechized. I'm probably saying it wrong. She was converted from being a pagan to Catholicism through the YouTube videos of Robert Barron, among a whole pile of books taller than I am. So it's like, okay, so we're going to take one part Robert Barron. He's going to talk like John Zmirak, who is more sarcastic than I am as far as being Catholic. We're going to have him come from Hong Kong. Uh, the character's name is Fulton Smirak, which is why, I'm so subtle this way. Um, and it's, yeah, I could see a Hong Kong version of John Smirak pissing off the PRC fairly easily. And that was pretty much how it all added up.
Now, when you're doing your research on stuff like this, because I frequently will see authors making the joke, about their search histories and that kind of thing. Is like, no, 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 I'm researching for a book. Really, you're into supernatural and drug dealers and China and all of this stuff. I mean, your search history has got to be pretty interesting viewing if anybody is looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, people would be very confused because for this book, part of it was, you know, what is the worst neighborhood in Brooklyn? Or what are the top 10 worst neighborhoods in New York City, period? Um, for the record, most of them are in the Bronx. Are we shocked? But, you know, and that was followed shortly thereafter by, I need a map of the Bronx Zoo across the street from Fordham University. I went to Fordham for 2 years. I'd never been to the zoo for, you know, I already had enough animals. They were my teachers. So it's like, I need that layout over here for this running shootout. I need, you know, my wife had picked up a tidbit on something called North Brother Island, which, hey, I collect random tidbits of local geography for the books. In fact, one of my reviewers said, "You can tell that that Declan Finn is an actual New Yorker for the simple reason that he doesn't go near any tourist trap and he doesn't go into Manhattan. You have no shootouts on the Empire State Building." So it's like, yeah, point taken. And not to mention, I was looking for a perfect place to hold somebody hostage.
Right.
It's like, okay, North Brother Island. It's a nice little place just northwest of Rikers. And it used to be a plague hospital. And now it's a nature preserve and nobody goes there. So perfect.
Now, as part of your research, I don't know that I've ever asked you this before. I should have if I haven't. How much do you how much do you communicate with the New York Police Department as far as making sure that your procedures are correct and you get the police process relatively accurate. I mean, you're dealing with supernatural stuff and witches and that sort of thing. So you're going to be able to take some liberties with this, I'm sure. But somebody looks at this and says, "Well, no, the cops wouldn't do that. They'd do this." Do you have conversations with the NYPD over this stuff at all,
No,
or
not at
any
all.
police?
I have books for research, 400 Things Cops Know, or What Cops Know by Connie Fletcher from the 90s. Um, so I do a lot of research. I've actually been complimented by people who have left reviews saying, well, obviously Declan Finn is either a cop or he's related to cops. It's like, thank you. My research has done its job, but no, I'm not related to any cops. Uh, you know, I have a police station 3 blocks from my house, but no. Um, and one of the things I've been focusing on has been to try to get away from a lot of standard procedures. In fact, I have the cops and I have, well, people who are not affiliated with the police department, so I can circumvent my way around procedures. Especially with these last 3 books, where, yes, Tommy Nolan is now part of the Joint Supernatural Task Force. So he's technically working with the FBI and the CIA, and the FBI still hasn't shown up. uh, They had two agents once. They came in for a week. They left. We haven't heard from them since.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And I have a lot of fun with what I know already. Like, for example, the FBI Manhunter Division. It's like there is no either there is no division. I'm a little sketchy on that, but like everybody who's a fugitive is tracked down by the U.S. Marshals, but the FBI is quite happy to take credit for anybody caught ever. And one of the running gags I had in book 11. I don't think I had one. No, book 10, Lightbringer. I don't think I had the running gag in book 11, but it's been a while since I've written it. Where the running gag was, yes, Tommy Nolan is so straight laced, and he will enforce the law without fear or favor, and he means it. To the point where, by the time Lightbringer wrapped up, the FBI didn't even want to host the press conference.
Now that raises an interesting point. No, there are actors who don't watch what they do in their stuff. William Shatner is known for this. I'm not going to watch anything that I'm in and all that. Do you go back and read your own books, especially when you're getting ready to do the next one? How do you keep track of the continuity to make sure that you're all in line with what you've already written?
Usually because I just keep writing the same world until I'm done with it. St. Tommy was all done in a row. I know I've come out with like 4 other books in the meantime, but they've all been written at different points. St. Tommy was wrapped up if either a year and a half to 2 years ago. Yeah, sure, I did some rewriting, but it was all done more or less at one swell swoop. And it's easy to keep track of the world when you're pretty much living in it 24/7.
Yeah.
And that's the output. I don't really have, and I kept enough of it vague. I don't do world building unless I have to. I will do enough world building to move the plot forward. I'm not Tolkien. I'm not going to do the 3,000-year history of a statue. Um, so, love Tolkien, but I can't do that.
Yeah.
And especially with urban fantasy. One of the nice things about urban fantasy as opposed to epic fantasy, I don't have to do a 3,000-year history on anything because New York hasn't been around that long, for one thing. The closest I have gotten to 3,000-year-old anything has been, well, a device where I said, yeah, this predates the flood that we can tell, so this is bad. It basically, I described it as an antediluvian WMD.
Oh
So,
my.
yeah,
Okay.
it showed up. Yeah, it was a MacGuffin for book 5. I think book 4, and it's like, okay, fine, it'll be a throwaway. I'll never hear from it again. And it's like, nope, it keeps coming back. So, if anybody ever tells you that, oh, well, unlike Discovery writers, nothing surprises me, they're lying. Even Jim Butcher, who has written out like 20 some odd books for Dresden Files from before he wrote the first first novel. Even he has said from time to time that yes, there are still multiple paths he can take along the way for his overall design. So,
but St. Tommy's a fixed number of books, though, right? I mean, once we get to the end, that's it. It's done. You're not open on continuing, through book 75 or anything like that, right?
No. Book 12 is going to be the end. There might be a spin-off with his kids, and an author friend of mine, Anne Margaret Lewis. I don't know if she's ever been on this show.
She hasn't.
But she's been doing a space opera that involve Nephilim or space aliens who are taken off planet, and she wanted to do a crossover with St. Tommy. At which point I said, okay, fine. I've already written like 20, 30,000 words for her. So there will be kind of an epilogue spin-off, and there will be a crossover. And I have been talking with Dan Humphreys about one of his books in which his character does multiverse hopping,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Hey, would you mind if he swung by St. Tommy for a while?" It's like, okay, fine.
Now, talking about working with other authors, I saw a post from David Weber this morning. It was a rather lengthy post about updating all of the different series and book lines that he's got going and all the different stories they're working on and all this different things, safe holds and honorverse and all this. And he's saying, he's at a point now, he's 70 years old. He's getting to a point where he has to start planning. I assume he's probably been thinking about this for a while, planning for when he's not here, what happens to those stories afterwards. And now you're talking about, working with other authors, and you're young yet. I don't know how often that you've had to think about this stuff, but is there any kind of an idea in place for other people playing in your sandbox for some of this stuff, or is it just I'm going to keep St. Tommy to myself? I mean, do you have those? Are you open to collaborating and such?
Well, I'm open to collaborating, sure. Who isn't? I think about collaborators even 20 years ago when Bain, 25 years ago, when Bain started doing it. And their idea was we're going to have crossovers we're going to have our various authors working with each other so that a whole bunch of people will, well, read everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
which makes perfect sense to me. And yeah, I'm open to working with other authors, but I don't exactly have people knocking down my door. Um, St. Tommy will pretty much be over. Every time I say he's over, there's like another project that comes up. So hold on.
Right.
The crossover with Anne Margaret Lewis, uh, Dan Humphreys, as he describes, multiverse hopping. Uh, El Jaji Lighter has actually suggested a brief crossover, again with multiverse hopping. And I am doing one crossover with St. Tommy and my other universe, which revolves around vampires. And that is all I have planned. Nobody has approached me about doing any more yet. So after those four things, St. Tommy should be completely done.
Right.
We hope.
You think?
I'm already working on. I'm already working on the series that will lead into my crossover with my own universes. I'm already on the space opera, which I believe we talked about on this show earlier,
I think so.
in a previous episode, White Ops. And after that, I'm going to be working on an open universe magic, open universe magical urban fantasy, where it's basically, yes, congratulations, magic has now hit. It happened from time to time. We have some experts, but now it's widespread, and about half the planet is either reading minds, throwing fireballs, or some miscellaneous combination thereof. So now what? So I've got other projects to get to.
Right.
That's all.
Has anybody suggested, because there's that assumption, and this, I've seen this with other things, if there's any kind of a faith-based project, they usually kind of get lumped in all in the same category. You've got the stuff that Kevin Sorbo's been working on. You're working on, from a Catholic perspective. You've got Doug Ernst doing the Soul Finder stuff. Has anybody ever said, "Oh, you're a Catholic writer. You should talk to Doug Ernst"? Yeah, and as if you all just kind of fit in a box over here on the shelf in the corner.
Oh yeah, I've had rants about this because, thankfully, on the one hand, things that could be considered Christian fiction have been evolving. It doesn't all look like bad Hallmark specials. And yes, I say bad Hallmark specials because I have seen some Hallmark movies that were decent, but they're usually on their murder mystery channel.
Yeah.
And the good God, for the most part, Christian fiction sucks. Everything that likes to boast it is Christian fiction is terrible. And this is someone who was part of the Catholic Writers Guild for a few years. I left because I realized they're not actually doing anything, and it felt like, yeah, we're going to promote our friends, and if we don't like you, you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
That was the impression I had, and they've changed over a few times, but I don't even have the time anymore to be enjoying her, even if I wanted to. But no, trying to lump everybody in is a terrible mistake. But hell, even Stephen R. Lawhead, who is a great writer, best-selling author, he's written, I think, every kind of fantasy you can think of. He did one book on the Byzantine Empire. It was labeled Christian fiction, and everything else for the rest of his life has been labeled Christian fiction. It's like, I guess Arthuriana could kind of count, maybe. But, he did books on Robin Hood. Christian fiction? What?
Okay.
So
yeah, that's a little bit of a stretch, I think.
Oh, yeah, but it is a label that just doesn't go away. And yeah, it does feel like anyone who doesn't know, everybody thinks, yes, we all know each other because there are only, a dozen of us or two. I wish there were only a dozen of us or two. That way we could network. But no, Kevin Sorbo isn't taking my calls. Hell, he's not even taking my tweets. And while there are larger markets emerging, something called PureFlix, I believe, is something Kevin Sorbo does associate with. I don't know it offhand. It's another streaming service.
Oh, okay.
And he has done several movies for them, one of which was described as a negative, as a dystopian future where the bad guys are all Antifa. It's like, okay, this sounds like parts of Germany on a Saturday night, but what do I know?
Or Los Angeles.
What? Oh, Los Angeles.
Or Los Angeles, Seattle, or something. Speaking of names that stick and won't go away, let's pivot a little bit after the break, because there are some things that just keep rearing their heads up, and now they're coming for the Dragon Awards. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute when we get back. Don't go anywhere. Stand by.
You're watching Sci-Fi for Me TV, delivering the multiverse since 2009.
A little bit of an experiment here this morning, trying to make all of this work, so just bear with us for a minute. It's a work in progress.
Since 2019, Sci-Fi for Me has been bringing you news and opinion from all over the web. Science fiction, fantasy, and horror have been on our radar from the beginning. News, rumors, we bring you the latest with our team coverage. Streaming original content every week. Good Morning Multiverse, live on Sci-Fi for Me TV, delivering the multiverse since 2009. Thanks for watching Sci-Fi for Me TV. Be sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our channels so you don't miss our next broadcast. You're watching Sci-Fi for Me TV, delivering the multiverse since 2009.
Back live from the bunker. Turn that down just a little bit. Jason Hunt here, along with my guest Declan Finn, who is a Catholic author. And we've got a suggestion here in the chat. This is from Keely Chow saying, I'd love for you to meet Odin of OMB Reviews, Drew Taylor of Supreme Heretic, and Etep of Etep Wokuian's The Place to Be Reviews. They're all Catholics. So, some possibility of some networking there, I guess.
Cool, I'll take. I don't know any of those folks offhand, but
Odin,
I'll be interested to find out.
Odin has some really good takes on some things. He's been part of Friday Night Tights over on the Nerdrotic channel. He's got his own stuff that he's been doing. He has recently nuked most of his social media. I know he's over on Local still, and he's got his YouTube channel. Drew at Supreme Heretic does a lot of taking a look at modern current events, I guess you could say. So he's got some interesting stuff over on his channel as well. All right, so we talked before the break. We talked about lumping people into particular categories and putting them into boxes and stuff. And social media is awash. Continues right now. A lot of it is related to Comicsgate. But Gamergate still keeps getting brought up, and the sad puppies every now and again. I don't see too many mentions of them all the time, but you and I were talking when we were getting ready to do this, and you had mentioned something about the Dragon Awards and wanting to talk about that, and the nominees for 2022 have been announced. And I'm looking at this list, and I don't know, Declan, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of names on this list that kind of surprised me being on this list, given how the Dragon Awards got started, coming out of the sad puppies and the debacle of the Hugo Awards in 2014, 2015, 2016, that era. I mean, here we are, 6-7 years out from that mess. And the Dragon Awards have been around now for, 5 years, I think? 4 or 5 years? And now I'm seeing a lot of names here that I would normally see on a Hugo ballot. I see Scalzi, I see Cat Rambo, I see T. Kingfisher, let's see here, James S.A. Corey, Nettie Okorafor. I'm a little confused. Now, granted, this is supposed to be a fan-nominated, fan-voted thing, so it's entirely possible that a number of fans have sat there. I've read You Sexy Thing from Cat Rambo. I thought it was a pretty good book. But it surprises me to see some of these people on here, because given how they feel about how this started and the groups that are associated with it, I mean, you'd think that they'd refuse the nomination. What do you think's going on here?
You would think that. I think it's a matter of they want an award that theoretically means something. This is the 7th Dragon Award presentation. I counted. So it has been going on for a while. And you remember a few years ago when John Scalzi refused to have anything to do with the Dragon Awards?
Right. He was very vocal about it.
Yes, weren't those interesting days? But there was a whole bunch of backlash against Worldcon lately because an upcoming Worldcon, I don't think it's this year, I think it's sometime soon, where Worldcon is going to be in the People's Republic of China, sponsored by Raytheon weapons developer.
Yes,
and
I want to say that's 2024? 2023 or 2024, I think, is that. And
quite possibly. I just paid just enough attention to catch the funny bits. And, there were so many people throwing pissy fits. It's like, guys, you don't like the People's Republic of China? I thought you guys were all up into communism. But, see, it shows what I know.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. And you can kind of tell this was just a little bit of a concerted effort. Because, there were leaked sales numbers a few months ago. If you go to Upstream Reviews on Substack, there is an article called, A Whitewashed Tomb. And it's like these, Cat Rambo and a few others were selling a few hundred copies of their books. And it's like, wait, hold on. The second year of the Dragon Awards, just the second, had 8,000 voters.
Right.
So I wonder how this math works. Now, for some of these people, I've seen a lot of, I guess you would call them sad puppy supporters, fans. There were fans I tripped over at the time, 7 years ago, when Sad Puppies was wrapping up. A lot of them, they don't mind S.A. Corey. They don't there are people who like The Expanse.
Yeah.
Last year, a lot of people kept saying, "Ooh, Kingfisher is great." So that's two down that I know have a fairly wide and varied fan base. So some of these names are perfectly fine. While I generally do not frequent a lot of young adult books, some of these names, it's like, no, all of these names are who? So you kind of wonder exactly what goes on here. Tor Publishing was very, very proud of all the names that were nominated for dragons. It's like, funny, I don't remember Tor being particularly proud of the dragons before either. So it's I do not know what caused the shift. It could have been Worldcon going to China, supported by a weapons company.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of fans I know, and some professionals, not authors. They generally don't care at the moment, at least not that I've seen. I think Larry Correa had one comment on it, and it was, I hope you guys all voted, because if you didn't, you can't complain.
Right.
I follow Tom Prattman on Facebook, and he didn't seem to even mention it. I think I mentioned it because I read his book, The Romanov Rescue, and that was one of my suggestions for best alternate history. And he hasn't mentioned it. A lot of the authors I follow just, they mentioned it when they were nominated. They didn't even drum up a lot of voting. Some did, but in fact, the person I know who tried to drum up the most support, people, were all the marketing flacks for publishers.
Yeah.
So it's like they care because it's good for marketing. But
so have the dragons already kind of petered out then, or is because I mean it really was a reactive thing. It felt like when it first got started was the Hugos are no longer irrelevant. We need something that's for the fans, by the fans type of thing, and then the dragons show up. And there's a lot of hoopla about it, and a lot of chatter online, a lot of people talking about it, and yay, this is a really good thing. And it just kind of is some of it, pandemic, shutdown, lockdown. Nobody cares about anything except let's just get through this and survive. Do you think?
Oh, that was definitely 2020. Last year, I know some people Dragon Con alienated because they were following certain protocols that people had some hissy fits about. And by hissy fits, I mean, even I canceled because, guys, I've been in New York for the entire pandemic. Hell, I was in Italy for the start of the pandemic.
I remember that.
I moved beyond masks like 5 minutes after I got back from Italy. So I'm at the point of wear a mask. I have problems seeing other people wear masks in public because I have issues with, I'm sorry, you're taking out your garbage at 9:30 at night. There is literally nobody else on the street except for me, and I'm on the other side of the street, but you're wearing a mask outside.
Right.
Anyway, that's my personal issue. Back to Dragon Con. So, hell, for all I know, this could just be a matter of people stopped caring in 2020 because it was 2020, and they're still trying to ramp up more support in general. Or it could be, and I've seen this suggested again by fans, that there have been certain campaigns going on trying to organize large amounts of voters, or at least voting accounts.
But I thought that was frowned upon.
Oh, I'm sure it's frowned upon, unless they do it, of course.
Right. We got a
I
chat
mean,
a question in the chat over on Odyssey from Are You Sure You're Awake? What if not voting is their complaint? I have to be honest, I have no idea what the Dragon Awards are. Well, I guess we should do a little bit of a primer on what the Dragon Awards are. So, coming
the Dragon
out
Awards started somewhere around 2017. Uh, Now there had been talk about, is the Dragon Award supposed to be because of Sad Puppies and the Hugo Awards? Um, it has been, the people I talked to at Dragon Con tell me that they've been talking about doing an award for, over a decade by that point. They had always been talking about it. Dragon Con is, if it is, I think it is one of the largest conventions in the world, not named Comic Con.
right. I think it's like the third is it the third largest in the United States cuz you got San Diego, you got New
Probably.
York and Dragon Con or I think the
Yeah.
top 3.
And there are official numbers on Dragon Con and there are unofficial numbers on Dragon Con, how many people show up.
Yeah.
Because, oh yeah, a million people show up to watch the parade, but that's in public. They're not paying members. And if you believe that one, uh, when I first went to Dragon Con, they had 75 to 80,000 people showing up. Uh, since then, they've had they've added 2 more hotels and 3 more convention-sized buildings, and yet somehow it's even more crowded, and they only have 85,000 people. Pull the other leg; it's got bells on.
Yep.
But you got to tell the fire marshal something, or else they'll shut down the hotels. And you have to lowball them, otherwise they'll shut down the hotels. So that's Dragon Con. They started the Dragon Award in 2017. I have very, very vivid memories of why. Although it says 2016 here, so maybe my memory's a little shaky.
Well,
But
because 2015 is the year that the Hugo Awards essentially went scorched earth, with no award going to just about every category. And then 2016 was when it was in Kansas City, and we covered it from here. And I think coming out of that, I think 2016 is when the Dragon Awards were announced. 2017 might have been the first year that they actually handed them out, but 2016 I think is when they said, "Hey, we're going to do it."
No,
No?
I was mistaken. 2016 is correct.
Okay.
I was relating it to other events at the time, but now, given the timing, a lot of people said, "Oh, well, the Dragon Awards are just for the sad puppy crowd." It's like, no, we're just the people who showed up first, because first year, and we already had a kind of a movement going. It was called Sad Puppies 4 at the time,
Right.
and people showed up, they voted, move on. That was my first year being nominated. That's one of the reasons why I can keep track of the years. But yeah, and it's a fan voted award. All you need is an email address. You don't even need to pay membership. And some people have suggested that that is a slight flaw in the system. Trust me, there have been people this year saying it's been a flaw in the system. Funny enough, I saw people try to tell me that, oh yeah, all these people won just because it's one guy with 50 IP addresses. It's like, okay, fine. I would like to see you say that in the same room with Jim Butcher. Please say that to Jim Butcher's face, that he only won twice for a Dragon Award the same year because somebody rigged the voting. Go ahead. But, I'd have no problem saying that to John Scalzi because he's a pussy. Anyway,
the
right
votes
along.
and not just fan voted. I mean, fans nominate the works as well. And like you're saying, with the email address, all you got to do is you fill out and you put in your titles and authors of who you think should get there. And after all of this is compiled, then whoever comes out on top, those become the nominees, and then the process goes through where now you go through and you vote for all of these top, whoever gets the top number of votes from the fans, it seems just on the surface, on the outside looking in, it seems like it's a fairly straightforward process.
Oh yeah, it should be. But theoretically, if you had no life and all the time in the world, you could theoretically, make 5,000 email addresses and, rig the votes however you like. I don't know anybody who has that much time. God knows I don't. But yeah, there are a lot of people who are looking at this scans. Now, granted, there are still some good people. I've heard a lot of good things about, for example, under military sci-fi, uh, you know, J.N. Chaney or Jeffrey Haskell, and of course, there's David Weber.
Yeah.
Because if it's military science fiction, David Weber's got to be somewhere. But some of these, it's like, again, who?
Yeah. Well, and I gotta say, I would be disappointed if the Dragons ever went away, because it's a gorgeous award. I mean, just the design of it. This is probably the most impressive artistic, actual physical award trophy that any of them have. I look at this one and I think that's very clever. And everything else is just a thing. It's just,
everything else is a plastic rocket ship.
yeah.
But although I am told the Nebula is nice looking, I haven't seen one in a while. But no, plastic rocket ships kind of make me go, this looks like some kind of phallic toy. But no, the Dragon Award is nice looking enough. It's like, I want one just for a dust collector. Thank you.
Yep.
But aside from that, so yeah, there have been some people going, Dragon Awards look a little odd this year. Especially because we've had sales numbers leak about some of these people. Now, it could be that maybe votes are down. Also possible.
Yeah.
But nope, I haven't heard numbers about how many people have voted in the Dragon Awards for a few years. Granted, it's been a while since I've shown up at the physical ceremony, which is the only time I heard the vote count announced. So that could just be part of the problem. I'll see if I can ask Brad Torgerson. He won a few years ago. Maybe he can tell me if they mentioned how many people voted then. Although it was funny, I saw Brad a few years before he won his Dragon Award, and he's saying, "Oh no, it's an honor to be nominated, but I'm not going to get it." And then I saw the next day. He's like, "So Brad, you're not going to win it, huh?"
Well, and I looked at the Hugo reports from the last 2-3 couple of years, and participation numbers there are abysmal. I think the last round I saw was something like 1,500. And I'm thinking, okay, at the height of the Sad Puppies group, I think in 2015 there was something like 5,400, and even then, that's not a huge number. But by comparison to most years, that's the most participation the Hugos have had in decades, and then it tapers off from there. But if you just got 1,500 people voting on the most prestigious award in science fiction literature, I'm thinking, how prestigious is this now? And if the Dragons kind of go that same way, I mean, I don't put a whole lot of stock into awards anyway. It would be nice to win one every now and again here. Sure, it's bragging rights. But other than that, I mean, really, what good are they?
Well, I don't know who gives awards for podcasts, although they should. But yeah, no, that's more people than not that I know of have that attitude towards the awards, at least the authors. In fact, I believe it was Stephen King who even pointed out 10, 20 years ago that he didn't like awards because it was all a matter of sitting at the right table to be with the cool kids to make sure the right people support you.
Yeah.
Which, okay, yeah. And he described the Hugo Awards 20 years ago. So I'm not all that shocked. Dragons, I have no idea what's going on. It could be that, gee, suddenly all the tour people are interested, so they turned resources that way. It could just be low voter turnout. It could be a whole number of things. But, hell, yeah. Sorry, I was actually about to segue somewhere else, and I shouldn't.
Yeah, that's okay because we're close to the end of our hour anyway. So that the timing works out. We'll have to have you back. We'll spin out to the other topic after that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I tell you, it's just it's interesting to watch sometimes, and at other times it's like driving by a car wreck, and you kind of look and see how many people got hurt. But anyway, all right. So the new book, Dark Web, St. Tommy NYPD Book 11. It is available in electronic form and in actual physical copies in various different places here. Amazon, Apple, Barnes & Noble. I have not heard of Kobo and Indigo and Angus and Robertson and Mondadori. These are new outlets for me. I'll have to look into these to see what these are. So there is that. Declan's website, declanfinn.substack.com. We got a link in our notes, and we also have a link to Declan's Twitter account, so you can follow him over there as well. What's next? Is it St. Tommy 12, or is there something else in the meantime that's coming out for you?
No, St. Tommy 12 will be out in October, and that should wrap it up nice and neatly. And after that is going to be back to White Ops, the space opera. Book 4 is coming out in February. Although I might, depending on how fast I can write, I might wind up self-publishing 4 or 5 novels. But that will depend a lot on time, and time is rapidly shrinking. I may have, let's just say I might be broadcasting from a different location next time.
Oh, are you getting ready to move? Or are you going into hiding?
Yes. No, we're getting, I'm moving the entire family lock, stock, and barrel. It seems that everybody has finally agreed that New York might be a little bit uncomfortable at the moment.
I gotcha.
So I might actually be able to get everybody out, and I'll be happy to tell you where we land once we get there.
Well, good luck with that. We certainly hope that everybody stays safe. That's for certain. So,
Thank you.
all right. Well, that's going to do it for us today, folks. Feel free to check out Declan's work, and you can see all of the rest of our work here on the channel. We also have the TV.2, which might be going away. I don't know how much it's doing us any good. You can find us on various different social media outlets and different video platforms. We've got a newsletter you can sign up for, so check that out. And in the meantime, feel free to share this and any of the other videos in our channel and links and all of that. Feedback, you can send us an email, livefromthebunker at sci-fi4me.com. No H2O podcast tonight. I have to go do some day job stuff, and it's going to keep me out late, so no H2O tonight. We will be back on our regular schedule. Hopefully, next week is Labor Day, so we'll let you know. So find us on the socials. We'll let you know on the socials, and we'll be back with another conversation here live from the bunker on Wednesday, and then the Ranker Pit tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. So join us for that as well. That's going to do it for us, folks. Thanks very much for being here. Remember, there are 4 lights.
Thanks for watching Sci-Fi for Me TV. Copyright 2022 by Flaming Dog Media, LLC. All rights reserved. No portion of this program may be retransmitted without the express written consent of Flaming Dog Media. You're watching Sci-Fi for Me TV, delivering the multiverse since 2009.